So by now, you must all have heard the en masse strong propaganda by Naxals. And I call them Naxals in media, who would have convinced you by now how the Indian state, especially the Modi Sarkar, the institutions, have done institutional murder or judicial murder. That's the language they use. And you must be feeling bad by now, right? That an 84-year-old person has been, as in their language, it's being killed by the state. Obviously, you must be feeling bad. You are human. And that is the purpose of it. But I am doing this because I want to tell you that what is the history of this, these people who put this agenda, how they have done it before with people younger than you, and how you do not know what has happened in the past. And as it's said, those who do not know their past are condemned to repeat it. And I will give you 4 examples for this. Afzal Guru, Yakub Menon, or some terrorist called kya naam tha uda? Riaz Ahmed Naiku, and Burhan Wani. I will give you these 4 examples to tell you, educate you rather, on there are the fact, which I said on Times Now, but this I will explain it to you in depth. There are some Naxals, unfortunately, in Bharat, who will justify every Maoist brutality, every terror brutality. And it is your duty then to explain it to others who get swept away with the images they will try to make of a frail 80-year-old man being given judicial or institutional death. What are the facts? We will discuss that. If you are joining for the first time, please subscribe, press the bell icon, and also ask me your questions in the end, because this is national security, this is propaganda, this is agenda, and these are things I am going to answer in depth when you ask me. So let me start with the first case. A gentleman, not a gentleman, a convicted terrorist called Afzal Guru. Do you know who he was? We have to go back to the 2001 parliament attack. Our parliament, the symbol of Indian democracy, where our prime minister, home minister, every minister goes, where we decide the policy and fate of India, was attacked by a terror attack in 2001. In 2001, by a terror attack. Then what happened? 1 second, my phone's ringing. 1 second. Was attacked by a terror attack. Then what happened? The police caught people. Of the people police caught, one was Afzal Guru. He was given a trial. How was his trial? In district court, in high court, in Supreme Court, in all three, he was convicted. Okay, now the second question, was he represented by good counsels? Yes, the best counsels of India. Senior counsel Shanti Bhushan, who is a legal legend. Prashant Bhushan, you see, his father, a very, very eminent, famous counsel. He represented him. Interestingly, some people were acquitted by court also. People the court thought did not deserve to be punished. Some people's death sentence was reduced to 10 years also. Right? So, let's see how it happens then. He gets punished. He gets hanged. What is the problem now? You know what they call this hanging? You know what they call this hanging? They call it judicial killing. I repeat, my dear friends, they called it judicial killing. They did program saying, Afzal hum sharminda hain, tere qatil zinda hai. Oh, I stopped. This death sentence was given during UP era, Congress era, February 2013. not during BJP era. So that is why I said these Naxal and Maoist, they don't even care about BJP Congress. You think it's a BJP Congress fight? No, 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 my dear friends. This is a fight against India's security, national security. Of course, unfortunately, nowadays, Congress is, and some members of Congress take stands which raise a lot of question about their intentions. That's very sad. Anyways, let us see what happens. Afzal Guru is called a judicial murder. So they did the same thing there, what they are doing in Stan Swamy. Now let me pause here. Let me go to another case. Well, see, there is no end of cases on this issue. But I am taking 4. Right? I am taking 4 because I don't want to go into 20. Now there was this terrorist in Kashmir, a dreaded terrorist. He was Hizayabul Mujahideen, one of the worst terror groups. Right? He was one of the top 10 wanted terrorists. So the government had said he is a wanted terrorist. Then on 20th May, or rather 6th May 2020, he and another of his associate, after a heavy fight, was killed by our security forces, risking their life, facing a lot of threats. What happened? What happened? Media tried to show him as, waited, a maths teacher whose circumstances made into a terrorist. So there was this entire sympathetic narrative of how he became a terrorist. So what they do is, with some of you on, especially on Instagram and on other leftist platforms, they try to develop the humane story of a person who, if he got the chance, would kill you and me. You know why? You know why? Because he's a terrorist. He will kill you, kill me for his goals, which could be his religion, which could be his territory, which could be anything. It could be anything. So that was the second case, where this gentleman is put across as a maths teacher who becomes this. Now let me come to the third case. Burhan Wani, have you heard of this guy? He was all over social media and he was presented as the, I'm sorry to say, the happening youngster, the charming youngster, the youth icon for terrorists. And after he was killed, you know how much violence happened in Kashmir? 96 people died in Kashmir after his death, protesting against it. 15,000 civilians and 4,000 security personnel got injured. 96 deaths in protests in Kashmir because Indian forces killed a terrorist. But that's not enough. What did the Naxal media do? You want to Google it. He was called a young boy who was a headmaster's son. See the spin. They try to show you the most humane side of a terrorist. But yeah, I also know, you also know, no terrorist came from the Asman, from the sky, right? Somebody was a maths teacher, somebody was a headmaster's son. But that's how they spin the narrative and try to blame the Indian state for their becoming a terrorist. That is the subtle message. Indian state is making them terrorists. Right? These are 3 examples. And now my personal favorite. I want to share this with you and then talk about this example, that how they spin it and how you have to know it. All right? Please do share this video with people. Otherwise, let not people believe that Stan Swamy is the first time they are calling it judicial or institutional or governmental murder. It's not the first time. I'm giving you one convicted terrorist, 2 whom the armed forces got rid of, and 1 more convicted. You have to see this. Yeah. See the headline. Read it. And they hanged Yakub. इनका भाई भतीजा है Yakub. And they hanged Yakub. Now I will tell you a very simple thing about English, which you already know, but they play very subtly. So first let me stop this and tell you who was Yakub. 1993. Again, a lot of you won't even know about it. Know about it or forgotten it. 1993. Bombay bombings. Brother of Tiger Memon. Caught. God knows how many died. Okay. 257 died in Bombay blast. 257 innocent people died. And this person was caught, given a trial, convicted by the trial court. Then it went to appeal, dismissed. Supreme Court upheld it. He was given a death sentence for being a terrorist. And then what happens? Then what happens? The headline, and this is national media. And they hanged Yakub. Now I have a question. Whom do you say they? Whom do you say they? Whom do you say they? I'll tell you. Right? What? You would be right. You will call Pakistan as they. You would call Bangladesh as they. You would call China as they. You would call US as they. You would call London as they. Right? Any country other than your own country you would call as they. And they hanged Yakub. Who was they? Who was they? India? Indian Supreme Court? Indian President? Indian people? That is the language or the play of language they use. And they hanged. So, when you see this, I have given you 4 examples. This is nothing new. Now, let's talk about the particular case of Stan Swamy. He was arrested. I am honestly sad that anybody died under custody because he was not convicted. Let's be fair now. He wasn't convicted. He wasn't. UPA is a very tough, stringent law, and I will also add this, that we had a TADA law, it was repealed. We had a POTA law, it was repealed. And now these people are asking for UAPA repealed. The problem is this. We need laws to tackle terror. But it is equally true that a lot of times state governments, central governments start misusing the law because the laws are so strict that your rights, my rights are very less in them. Our rights are very less in them. But that's the larger debate about the law. That is why Tata had to be brought in, then had to be removed. POTA had to be brought in and had to be removed. Because it is you need strong laws to fight terror, but it is also a tendency of governments to misuse the law. To misuse the law. That is the point. Right? Now let us go beyond that. And when we go beyond that, what we find out is this, that, as I said, any jail is bad. Anybody in jail is bad. But he was in a prison which was controlled by the state government. And I'm not blaming the state government because we will come to his health. But I'm saying, even if you have to blame the central government, how do you blame him? He was in a state jail. Then On 28th May, he went to a hospital, right? Once he was in the hospital, what happened? He suffered a cardiac arrest and he passed away. Now, 2 points to this. First, who all those who attacked the judiciary, who sent him to hospital? Judiciary. Judiciary allowed that he be sent to hospital on 28th May 2021. I would like to pause here and tell you that was a time when even ordinary citizens were finding it very, very difficult, very, very difficult to get bed because COVID wave was raging. He got a bed. He went to a hospital of his choice. The courts gave every indulgence. Initially, I think he was sent to hospital for 15 days. They extended it. He was still in the hospital of his choice when he had a heart attack. Now, I ask you this question. While it is true that anybody's death is unfortunate because the person hasn't been convicted yet. If he was convicted, it would be a different thing. So it is unfortunate. But I ask you, how do you attack the state or the judiciary or the institutions because of this? How? It is just a propaganda to destroy your faith in Indian systems, Indian institutions, Indian judiciary. And that needs to be called out. That is what I'm trying to do here. The courts gave him indulgence. What else could the courts do? They send him to hospital, the best hospital, the hospital of his choice. Right? The courts did not deny him hospital. Even at a time when hospital beds were scarce. And forget this case. How many cases people are ill in prison and they get hospital? Remember that also. Remember that also. Simple. Then let's go forward and understand one more point. All this narrative is spun. All this narrative is spun because they want to create an atmosphere that Indian government is Indian institutions are, Indian systems are not fair and are targeting people. While the reality is, one was a parliament attack case, one was a Bombay blast case, and this was obviously not the same category because the trial hadn't happened, but this was not because of torture or even because of encounter. This was old age, 84-year-old man passing away in a hospital. So let us be clear and straight that we will not allow this propaganda under Indian state to continue. Thank you. Now, any questions? Pronouncing. If I pronounce some name wrong, I'm sorry, but I don't care about terrorist names. Twitter keeps suspending repeatedly for no such. We are not talking about Twitter. There is a typo in the title. Okay, I'll change it. Why are you people so, I don't know, hyper all the time? If there is a typo in the title, I will change it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Sir, there is no place for terrorism. Absolutely, there is no place for terrorism. But if somebody does terrorism, we need to have punishments for it, no? We need to have punishments for it, no? And if the courts give punishment on parliament, on, let me put it like this, on Bombay blasts, you can't say they killed him. They is Indian state, right? They is Indian state. Simple as that. All right. So good night. I hope if anybody brings up Stan Swamy issue, you know enough now to answer and tell them the true facts of how the same propaganda is done every time. And this was an unfortunate death. Every death is unfortunate because he is not convicted, but it is a death due to natural causes in a hospital, nothing to do with the judiciary or the Indian state. That's it.